Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for having me again. I can take no credit for the talk tonight. Yeah, I didn't even put the slides together. Right? Usually, I tell you, I got a topic, I put the slides together, and it's the material from the books from Spiritism. But this time, the slides even come from the Spiritist Federation, right, of the United States. It's available to everyone at I don't know the website. I think it's spiritist.us. But they have a couple different sections, a couple different workbooks, lots of good resource material in English, and there's a Portuguese section as well. There might be Spanish, but anyways, that's where it comes from. And we're going to talk about prayer because obviously, if you're here tonight, you probably pray. Yeah, you're in a spiritist center, a spiritual place. Chances are you pray, which is great. If you're like me, you didn't learn really how to pray with any meaningful value till you were older. You just prayed the way someone taught you how to pray, and you memorized stuff, and you read stuff, and at some point, and maybe some of us are still doing that. But for me, I can remember as a kid just being taught. I did a lot of Hail Marys. I did a lot of Our Fathers. I'd go to confessional and say prayers just by rote memorization, for my penance. But it never really had a lot of feeling, right? So what we're going to talk about tonight is a Spiritist perspective on prayer, types of prayers, how to pray, when to pray. Is there ever a bad time to pray? Maybe if you're driving, don't close your eyes if you pray. Yeah, that might be bad. But I don't think there's ever a bad time to pray. I find myself now, like today, I was running late. I was up in the villages. Traffic was bad. I got here with like 12 minutes to spare. So before I came into the house here, I said a prayer to disconnect from all that hassle. And you know what? It worked, right? I was able to disconnect from a crazy day, right? So anyways, let's stop talking about me and start talking about the topic. So what Spiritism teaches us, right, is that, and I love this expression, prayers should be an intimate overflow, right, from the soul to God, an intimate overflow. So everything you think, everything you feel, intimacy, right? How much more closer can we get, right? When we talk about connection, right? Intimacy. An intimate overflow from the soul to God, right? The supreme resource for the afflicted, right? People like us, right? Spiritual beings trapped in a physical body, right? Incarnated on earth. Working our plan, working our struggle, right? Facing the challenges of the day, trying to grow. So the supreme resource for the afflicted. I love it. So they ask the question, right? Who has not found prayer or comfort in prayer, right? How many of you have prayed and not found comfort? And I'm sure some of you can raise your hands. I can think of a few prayers that I didn't find comfort, right? I can also thank God for some prayers that he didn't answer in my life, yeah? Just because I wanted at the time doesn't mean it's right for me, right? So, but usually we find comfort when we pray. And I apologize for the slide quality. It looks like we've got some degradation there. Hopefully it's not all the slides. So what types of prayers exist, right? And I have little kids, and a lot of times little kids want to pray for new bicycles and new friends and an A on that science test or whatever, right? So legitimate prayers, right? Praying for outcomes, what have you. But Spiritism kind of breaks prayers into different types, right? One of them, and the most common, is an invocation, right? By means of prayer, we communicate through thought with the being to whom the prayer is addressed. So what does that tell us for sure, right? We don't have to just pray to God, yeah? We can pray to grandma. We can pray to spirits. We can pray to our guardians, our mentors, right? When I was a kid, you prayed to God, and I think saints were okay too, but I don't remember the rules, right? But that was pretty much it, as I recall. The purpose can be a request, an acknowledgement, or a glorification. So give me an example, or think about an example of a request that's legitimate, right? Like my kids want a new bike, right? I try to teach them that's not a really good request. But we can pray for strength, right? We can pray for courage, right? We can pray for the winning lottery numbers, but it's probably not going to happen, right? It's not a good request, right? An acknowledgement, right? What's an example of that? We all face challenges, yeah? Some of us have adversity at work. Some of us have adversity at home. Some of us are sick. Some of us are whatever. We're facing challenges. We're going through a struggle. So acknowledge, right? Father, I acknowledge that I've made some choices that have put me in a bad situation. I've created this. I'm acknowledging that I need help. Right? That's an example of that. And then glorification, yeah? Not of yourselves, right? Father, I'm so amazing, you should do this for me, right? Not that kind of glorification, but glorification of God. Father, you're all loving, you're all knowledgeable. I know you know what's best for me. Give me the courage to connect and listen, to connect with your message. Stuff like that. Make sense? Yeah. All right, so no more praying for my glory, right? I had to say that. One may pray for oneself or for someone else, for the living or for the dead. Right? We've got books in the back, right? One that says incarnated, one says discarnated, right? You put names of your loved ones, names of people you know. How many of you put names of your enemies in those books? Awesome. You have enemies? I don't believe it.
But they might not be me.
Okay.
But they might be my enemy.
Fair enough. I love it. Yeah, so it's easy, right, to pray. And we'll talk about a little bit more about it. It's easy for me to write my grandmother's name in the book or my wife's name in the book. What's that?
Your boss, like your manager.
Yeah?
I put their names too.
There you go.
Your manager is like, not be quite good with you, so put him.
Hey, this is being recorded, so you better be careful, just in case they're watching. Huh? That was Susan, not Jackie, in case you're watching.
I'm her manager.
Oh, are you okay?
But I told him, I put my boss in there. Like when I had the opportunity, I said,
I love
I
it.
put your name.
Fair enough.
I put your name on the press book.
Okay, we all need prayer. So that's awesome, Jackie. I'm proud of your effort there. It's very good. You're very special, sir. Okay. But people that we're not happy with, right, or that we have problems with, it's hard to pray for them. But that's what Jesus taught us, yeah? Pray for our enemies. So we'll talk more about that as well. How about continue this, right? Asking prayers, thanksgiving prayers, prayers of praise, right? Just a summary of the three things we just talked about. All right? So when you pray, and this comes right from Matthew, yeah? When you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen, right? How many times do we hear speeches, right? From people, and then even transcends into when you watch eulogies at funerals or public prayers, right? It almost seems like people are praying to be heard, yeah? To be seen, to be heard. And it's less about the message, right? So what they teach us in the gospel, right? What's written in Matthew is, listen, when you want to pray, don't get me wrong, we do group prayers here. We do group prayers to start events and end events and things like that. Nothing wrong with a public prayer. Nothing wrong with a group prayer. But prayer for yourself, right? By yourself. Don't do it out in public to show off, right? Go into your room, right? Close the door. Pray to your Father, right? Who's not out for show, right? He's more about your heart, more about what you're really feeling. So, not like some of those people that show off, right? It's a private thing, and I have to be conscious of that. I like to talk, right? I don't usually admit that, but you guys could probably tell, right? I have a tendency. I can use 1,000 words to say something that could take me 100, right? I elaborate. So I have to remember that when I pray, not to elaborate, because it's overkill, right? Just right from the heart. How about the quality of the prayer, right? So they tell us pray in secret. Don't prolong your prayers. It's not about the length. It's about the feelings, about the sentiment. And this is huge. We don't talk about this a lot. We talked about praying for our enemies, right? For them. But as actually forgiving them, like if there's any angst, right, in our hearts, in our minds, as we're preparing to do whatever type of prayer we're going to do, we should forgive the people that we have this anger for. Ask them for forgiveness. Forgive them. Just get it out of there, right? So you're completely humble, and you're praying with humility. And that was new to me. I think I've heard that, but that didn't really sink in after all these years of studying this stuff. So that's what I learned. That's one of the takeaways I learned preparing for this, is get that stuff out of you before you start praying. So this is obviously Gandhi, right? Who we all know and recognize. And I love this quote, right? Prayer is not asking. It is a longing of the soul. It is a daily admission of one's weakness. Just like that Spiritist definition early on, right? An intimate overflow of the afflicted, right? An intimate overflow, or the longing of the soul. A daily admissions of one's weaknesses. In prayer, it is better to have a heart without words than words without a heart. So again, ties into not the length, but the sentiment, the personalization of it. Very nice. You think Gandhi was a Spiritist? You think? All right. He definitely was a spiritual guy, for sure. Definitely an elevated spirit, I would say. So, Pharisee and the tax collector. You guys have heard this story, right? Pharisee was like the elite religious group of the time, the chosen people, if you will. The top 1%, or however we refer to it, who knows, right? But they were the chosen people at the time. Tax collectors, we don't like to pay taxes now, but we don't look at tax collectors as thieves or rip-offs, right? We've come to accept taxes. But back then, if you lived in a Roman area, right, in addition to giving to your temple or your church, whatever, right, or your community, you also had to pay a tax to the Romans, right? So the Roman tax collectors were hated. They were despised. They were looked upon as the worst of the worst, right? So it wasn't very good. So this is a story, right, this is from Luke, about a Pharisee, right, an elite person who he stood up and prayed in public. And his prayer, as you see, was, God, I thank you that I am not like the other men that are here. Robbers, evildoers, adulterers, even like this tax collector, right? I fast twice a week and I give 1/10 of what I get to the temple, right? So, what do you see? What really stands out there? What are there a lot of in that sentence? I, right? It's all about him, right? So that stands out for sure. Well, what about the tax collector? What about his prayer? Look at his prayer. God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Right? That's how he started his prayer. Right? I don't see any I. I see me, I guess. But God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And as Luke writes in the New Testament, he says, I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home, justified before God. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. So quoted as Christ saying that. Strong, right? Not about him, not about how good he is or what he does. It's what he doesn't do and how bad he feels that he's been. Very powerful. So when we pray, how often do we recognize our shortcomings, our weaknesses? Now, this does not mean to dwell on them, to beat yourself up, but to acknowledge. When I pray with my girls at the end of the day, one of the things that they will say now, probably because I've said it so many times, is a very short portion of the prayer in the beginning, or whenever it happens. But Father, I recognize that I didn't necessarily make the best choices today. Forgive me for those. And let me forgive myself. Let me wake up tomorrow with no memory of it. But not of the mistake, but let me wake up with the lesson that I learned so that I don't make the same mistake tomorrow. That kind of stuff, right? Don't beat yourself up. Don't hold on to mistakes. We all make mistakes, right? That's part of the reason we're still on earth, yeah? Because we make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. But let's learn from them. And that's a great thing to put into your prayer, to start your prayer with. All right, so what's the effectiveness of prayer? This is from the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 27. And they tell us that the effectiveness of prayer has been proven in all areas. Its power is in the thoughts and love that we use to formulate them. Love for others and ourselves. So when they say proven in all areas, what are they referring to? What do you think? Have there been scientific studies, double-blind research on this? They actually have, but there's not a lot of double-blind studies on prayer. But there's tons of evidence, right, from mediumship, from reports, how prayers are heard, how prayers are answered. There's tons of evidence how things happen as a result of group prayer, societal togetherness on issues and things like that. And the way this works, right, the prayers that we make, right, that we say, essentially are heard by God. They're heard by our guardian angels. They're heard by our mentors. And it sets into motion this action, right? This true desire on your part, being humble and wanting to change, needing strength for whatever you're facing. And then obviously those spirits assisting with their energy, their vibration. Ultimately, though, who makes the decision to do what's going to happen? You guys, right?
Ourselves.
Exactly, right? Exactly. You pray, you listen, you don't listen, you connect, you don't connect, you turn left instead of right. Ultimately, you make the final choice. But this connection helps you receive inspiration, helps you receive positive direction, if you allow yourself to receive it, right? And that's where this comes in, right? There's lots of people out there that will tell you prayer doesn't work. You're wasting your time, right? I have a family member that he prays every day, but he says it's not going to help. But just in case, I'm gonna pray. Can't hurt, you know. I'm hedging my bets, you know. His kids were baptized because you never know, you know. There might be something to this, so I'm gonna baptize my kids, right? So whatever, you know, whatever floats your boat, as my dad says. But at the end of the day, there's universal laws, right? There's laws of God. There's laws of nature. We can pray for no hurricanes, right? But hurricanes are going to come, right? It's just the way it is. We can pray for all kinds of stuff that just doesn't happen. But here's the thing. Even praying for things that God may not grant or that we cannot make happen through prayer, just the act of praying for something that may not make sense, right? But let's take money, for example. You lost your job. You're down on your luck. You're not sure how you're going to pay your mortgage or your car bill, right? And in a moment of prayer, you know, you might pray for those winning lottery numbers, right? But what are you doing, right? You're expressing to God, to the universe, right? That, man, Father, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I just got my last severance check. I don't have any money to pay the mortgage. What are you doing? You're acknowledging to God that you need help, right? And you're not going to get the winning lottery numbers, but by acknowledging to God that you need help, that you're having trouble, you're sending out that energy to the world, right? To your spirit guide, to your mentor, to your guardian angel. And what you're probably going to get back, right? Look what it says, right? Courage, patience, and resignation, right? You connect with that. You receive the strength to carry on. You find resiliency. You find courage. It comes to you, right? So you may not get what you want. There's a song, right? There's a Garth Brooks, I remember. Thank God for unanswered prayers, right? Not that I'm a big country fan, but that song stands out, you know? Anyways, so with prayer, you get the means, right? The way to develop courage, to receive courage, to get assistance from those good spirits that you're attracting to you. Make sense? All right, cool. All right, so this is from Oscar Wilde, who most of you probably heard, right? Famous, was he a playwright or an author? An author. See, I don't even know for sure, but I know his name. You write books or plays? Anybody know? What's that? Both. Oh, see? I knew I was right. I should have just played along with it, right? I'm kidding. You ever heard about how to get out of an uncomfortable situation when you don't know the word? I'm going to teach you something, okay? If you ever find yourself in a situation you can't remember the word, you say to yourself, how do you say that in English? So then people think you know a foreign language and you're really smart, see? No? Okay, don't do that. That's not right. But anyways, it gets me out of jams every once in a while. Well, listen, English is my first language, and I butcher it every day. So sometimes I need a little help. Okay. All right. So let's jump back into this. This is a quote, right? When the gods wish to punish you, they answer your prayers. And how real is that, right? There's times we wish and pray for stuff that's by no means good for us or the right thing for us, right? I can remember an ex-wife that left me, right? And I prayed for her to come back, right? I was miserable for 7 years, right? I'm so glad she didn't come back. I'm so glad God didn't answer my prayers, right? Awesome. Because look at my life. I'm a spiritist now. I'm married to Christiane. I have 3 amazing daughters. I'm an audiologist now, right? All that stuff never would have happened. You know? Thank you, God, right, for those unanswered prayers. But the point is, and they tell us, right? This is from Here and Hereafter, from Leon Denis, right? Most people are unable to discern what would be suitable and most profitable to them. God alone knows what is best for us, and failing to satisfy our demands, he will at least send us fluidic assistance and resignation. Right? Thank God for unanswered prayers. Amazing. All right. Again, my apologies for the poor quality of slides. So this slide, if you can't see it, talks about a man wandering in the desert, thirsty. He has no water. He's going to die. Right? So he falls to his knees and he prays. Right? But nobody drops water off. Right? But while he's on his knees praying, right? When he stops this, he has this thought, right? A good spirit suggests to him, get up and follow me. I'm going to take you to water, essentially. So he does this, right? And if the man has faith, if this person has faith, what does he do when he finds the water? He thanks God, yeah? He thanks the spirit that gave him the strength. He says, if he has faith, he will say, thank you, my God, for the thought you inspired in me and for the strength you have given me. If he doesn't have faith, he'll say, what a good thought I had. Right? How lucky am I to take the path to the right instead of to the left? How often do we do that? Right? I'm guilty of that. Right? There's times when I just say, man, I got lucky. Right? Maybe I did, but I don't think so. I think we create our decisions, right? Our outcomes. We put ourselves where our thoughts take us, where our words and our actions take us. And if we had faith, right? How many of you thank God for your problems? It's hard, yeah? It's hard. But imagine having a terminal disease. Could you thank God for cancer? Could you thank God for a heart attack that nearly killed you? Could you thank God for anything bad? But if we have faith, if we truly have faith, right, we'll thank God for those bumps in the road. We'll thank God for every adversity that comes our way. Because what does adversity provide? An opportunity for growth, yeah? It's when we're at our lowest, it's when we're at our most painful, that we're truly tested and challenged, where we kind of define who we are and what we're about, right? So when the time is tough, we should thank God. It's so easy to say, yeah, but hard to do. Very hard. All right, so let's talk about the action of prayer. And I love this picture. Can you see that picture? Yeah, that came out okay. So that's a stone, right? Dropped in the water, yeah? And you get the ripple effect, right? So they compare prayer to this ripple effect, right? When you pray, heartfelt energy, right? Leaving you, going out into the world, right? Into space. And it just goes and goes and goes, right? And the more of that you do and the more of that you're sincere about, it connects with positive spirits, positive energy that's there to assist you, right? So you get this effect, right? This fluidic current, they call it, is established, which enables advanced spirits, right? Your guardian angel, your mentor, others that are there to help, to influence us and to answer our summons, even from the far depths of space, they say, other areas, right? Other zones, if you will. So when you humbly pray and you send that ripple effect out into the universe, right? You're opening that channel. You're connecting that channel. Like here's my humble request. Here's my problem. Here's what I'm struggling with, Father. And you're drawing energy to you. You're drawing the answers to you, right? If you can connect and listen and receive. Make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. Listen, just 2 more hours. I promise. Don't fall asleep. There's coffee if you need it. All right. We're getting there. So that's the action. What about the power of prayer, right? This is pretty strong. And I'm not sure where this is from. Does it tell us in the slide? It doesn't. But it's a story, right? There's a guy that's sick in this town, and he goes to see the matriarch or the leader, right? Maybe the spiritual leader. The guy's name is Reb, right? And he says, I can help you, right? I suggest, Mr. Sick Man, you should go see the master of Anapola, right? I'm sure he can help you. So what does this guy do? He hires a wagon, a driver, right? He goes on this journey far away to this town, and all to find out that, I'm sorry, sir, but there are no doctors or masters here. Right? He goes all this way looking for an answer, right? So what does he do? He goes back, right? And he says, hey, what are you doing? There's no doctor. There's no master. What do I do? And the guy tells him, he says, well, listen, with no doctor, how do you think the people get help? Reb asked the guy. He says, they have to ask God to heal them, the man replied. That's the master I was talking about. Ask him, and he will help you too. And then the story goes that, sure enough, the man followed his advice, and a short time later, he was cured. Right? We have to not necessarily count on just the physical realm, right? We don't control everything per se, right? It's okay to be humble. It's okay to ask for help, and the answer may not always be physical. Modern medicine is awesome, right? But it doesn't always work. There's stories daily of people cured by non-traditional ways, yeah, or just cured spontaneously. We have to be open to asking for help and finding answers spiritually. So, continue with the action of prayer. We're told that all spirits recommend prayer. I think that's a given. I think we know that. And to reject it means to ignore God's benevolence. So if we're not praying, if we're not reaching out with prayer, then we're actually not taking advantage. We're not believing. We're lacking faith in His benevolence. And that's strong, right? Well, some days I just don't feel like praying. I'm not in the mood, right? Happens. Less and less as I get more connected, I guess. But if I don't pray, right? If I don't do that, then I'm rejecting God's benevolence. It's a gift that we have. It's a faculty that we have. It's an opportunity that we have to connect with our spirit guides, with positive energy, and we should be taking advantage of it. We should be doing it. So this is hard to see, and I apologize. But how many of us have said the Our Father? How often do we say it here as part of our prayer, right? How many of us just say it by memory and not think about the words? I'm guilty of that. I've been saying that prayer since I was old enough to talk, probably, right? I learned that in catechism as a young kid. I can say it with no problem. I don't need to read it. Although I will say one time I was saying it up here and I forgot it. Maybe stage fright or something. I don't know, right? But for the most part, we know this prayer. But what does it really mean? And my wife actually loves this prayer. And when she says it in Portuguese or in English, especially in Portuguese, I think because it's her first language, she feels it, right? This prayer has really helped her through some tough things. And she explained it to me. It was very fascinating to me or interesting to see it like this here. So the way she described it to me. But if you break down that prayer, it's a perfect prayer. It encompasses everything, right? So the first part of that, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. All that's saying, or what that's saying, is we recognize and praise the importance of God in our lives. It's not just words, right? It's recognizing and praising the importance of God in our lives. Thy kingdom come, which means we accept God's providence. We accept the fact that God created us all, right? Equal, lacking knowledge, right? One God. Thousands of interpretations, yeah, but one God, yeah. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So we submit ourselves to the laws of God, right? Each day, right? We want to strive to be better at that. Then it says, give us this day our daily bread, recognizing that God provides us with both physical and spiritual nourishment, right? Everything we need to thrive, even if we can't realize it at the moment. All the tools we need surround us every day. They're solutions to all of our problems, right? God has not left us alone. He's given us everything that we need. We don't always see it or feel it, but it's there. And this prayer reminds us, right, that those resources are there, right? And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, right? What does it say there? It's vital to forgive us our trespasses. See, I can't even read it, and I'm the one that made the slide, right? Can somebody read that? It is vital to forgive. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. He's got young eyes. That's very good, right? Do you hear the first part of that? Say it again, the first part. Forgive who?
Ourselves and others.
One more time, louder.
Ourselves and others.
Ourselves. Thank you. I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that. But it's huge. Ourselves. It says ourselves before others. Isn't that huge? How many of you forgive yourself? How many of you look in the mirror and say, Father, I'm sorry for what I did, and then you look in the mirror and say, and I forgive you. I love you. Right? Is that hard or what? It's hard. Right? So you do something wrong, right? Don't waste any energy. I don't want you thinking about it, right? But hypothetically, you do something wrong. How many times did it happen? Once, right? That one event. Every time you think about it, every time you feel guilt about it, every time you feel remorse about it, it's repeating again. Every time. If it happens in the brain, it's happening all over again. There's tons of studies on this, MRI activity of your brain, of different areas of your brain, right? And the same areas of your brain light up on the MRI as when you're doing it or just thinking about it. Forgive yourself. It's so hard. But do it, right? Wow. And then forgive others, right? Forgive others for the things they've done, right? But that's huge. Forgive ourselves. And then finally, what's that last one? And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. We recognize our limitations and the protection of God, right? Lead us not into evil, into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In other words, Father, I'm praying for strength, for courage to avoid temptation. I used to drink a lot, right? And I don't drink anymore, right? But it took time, right? It took a lot of prayer, a lot of work. I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore, right? I used to chew tobacco. I don't chew tobacco anymore, right? So I'm conquering these temptations, these addictions, one at a time. Am I doing it myself? Heck no. Christianity's pretty tough. She cracks a whip. I'm kidding. That's my wife. It's not true. She's an angel. She's a saint. But I'm not doing this by myself. I'm doing it with the help of God. I'm doing it with the help of prayer. I'm doing it with the help of my guardian angel. By vibrating, by praying, by attracting and letting myself receive the positive influence. So the next one I'm working on is my driving. I'm still kind of aggressive behind the wheel, right? But I'm getting better. I'm not type A that much anymore, so I'm getting better. And then food is my last addiction. I'm convinced that's my last addiction. You too? No more gambling. No. Well, I still have a small business. So I guess in some ways that makes me a gambler, yeah? If you're a business owner, I think you gamble a little bit. But yeah, no more gambling. I tell you about that? Oh, okay. No, I never gamble. But yeah, I'm getting there. But food is a big one for me. So now I'm praying to God for strength to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to Orange Theory and work out, yeah? Because I can do that, right? Anyways, I'm digressing because I'm saying right? Too much. It's not about me. It's about us, right? The point is, we all have the ability to say this prayer, and it's just words on a page or words in our memory, or to break it down into its constituent parts and really let the meaning sink in. This prayer covers it all, right? So think about that next time you say it. Think about it next time you pray. And just open your hearts to the possibility, to have faith that this is real. And it happens every day if you let yourself receive it. All right. They're going to kick me off in a minute, so I got to hurry. How many of you know this guy? Benjamin Franklin, yeah? I was just in Washington, D.C. for the 12th U.S. Spiritist Symposium. If you haven't been to one of those, you got to go. It's amazing. I think I've been to a couple, but it was awesome. The cherry blossoms were in bloom. It was just me and my wife and about 300 other Spiritists. It was pretty cool. Talking about stuff. And Ben Franklin, if you read a lot of his stuff, I think if he was alive today, he'd be a Spiritist, right? I think so. He's got a lot of his stuff. If you read it, there's definitely a spiritualist for sure, right? For sure. But here's a quote from him, right, about prayer. Work as if you were to live 100 years, and pray as if you were to die tomorrow. If you knew you were gone when you closed your eyes tonight, you weren't going to wake up, what would your prayer be? What would you pray for? Who would you pray for? Yes.
He was a contributor to the doctor.
He was?
In spirit.
His spirit, later on, yeah? See? I can always count on your tutelage and your guidance. I didn't know that. Actually, I think you're right, though. I do remember seeing quotes from him. So, can you elaborate on that more? Did he play a large part in it?
Well, the Spirit's book, it's not written by Allan Kardec. It's called the Codifier. So he put together all the spirits, all of the answers to the questions were received from the spirits, and they helped him put it together. So elevated spirits, and there are many elevated spirits like the Apostle John, etc. But one of those is like a large group of spirits. Benjamin Franklin is one of those.
Cool. Thank you so much. But I love that. Work as if you were to live 100 years and pray as if you were to die tomorrow. So this is a poem, a prayer from Reverend James DeLay. And I won't read that out loud. I'm going to leave that on the screen as my last slide. You can read that as you're preparing for your vibrations for your passes. But it's very faith-filled. It's very, very strong. And I'll leave it up there so you can take a picture with your phone if you want to read it to yourself later. So I want to thank you for your time and your attention, putting up with my stories. I really appreciated the opportunity to share with you tonight. So thank you.